Welcome to our Sailing Odyssey home movie. It's a big trip, the five of us, back in 2013. We sailed from the right side of that map in the island of Kos, all the way across the Aegean to Athens. First day in the red there, Tony and I brought the boat around to meet the others. There's Elliot, Peter, James, Tony and myself. So Tony did the recce, picked up the yacht. I turned up. We had 2 beers on board and that was enough. We motored around the island. We got joined by some fantastic dolphins. Beautiful pod of dolphins there. The others were flying in to Kos late that night. Well, it's been quite an afternoon there, Tony.
Yeah.
A bit of a wave for YouTube. Alright, we're racing the sunset.
Well guys, it's Saturday the 26th of October and Tony and I have picked up our boat at the Kos harbour and we're bringing it around the south side of Kos Island to a place called Kardamena to wait for the other guys who are joining us tonight. We've seen a fabulous pod of dolphins who swam under the front of the boat for about 10 minutes. We've seen a feeding school of tuna, which I've never seen before. That was pretty cool. And now we're racing the sunset. As you can see, it's dipping behind that headland. We're trying to get to our destination, but it's going to take us another 45 minutes. So we're going to be going into the twilight. Anyway, you enjoy that, Tony? Absolutely.
First time with dolphins like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. So it wasn't actually a twilight, it was a pitch black finish. Tony brought us in very beautifully. We tied up against that little fishing wharf there. There's the next morning, sun coming up. We found the chaps. They'd arrived around midnight. There's Elliot there. We left at about 7 AM and our first troubles arose.
Today in Home Hardware 101 we find ourselves in the Aegean Sea with a squeaky problem on a boat, and we decided to use some Greek olive oil, but you can use any nationality's olive oil at home, and we're going to try and stop the squeak on a yacht with olive oil. I don't know if I'll be able to get it underneath.
So what's it been caused by?
Nylon or nylon, not washers. I can't remember what they're called. Nylon berries. Yeah, I'm not fit. Bushes, yeah. Nylon bush or nylon bush. Always be careful with nylon bush or nylon bush.
What do you think, Tony?
We still got some squeaking noise, so let this be a lesson about nylon bushes.
I think Vaseline might be better.
Did you bring Vaseline, Tony?
I brought my Vaseline. I never go anywhere without it.
I can't get the oil in there. If we got any WD, that would be perfect, straight in.
Yeah.
Hey, we're over the Aegean Sea. It's just the Aegean Sea, yeah?
Yeah, there's no deck in these islands.
No deck in these. 21 knots to breeze, which is the most we've had in a long time.
We're just leaving Kos. You can see the island of Kos behind us.
Towards the home.
Alright, well we've just left Kos, just over here. We've got a crossing now of about 35 nautical miles. Astapalia, it's over in this direction.
The home of, go on.
We've got about 21, 22 knots of wind. It's looking pretty good. Peter's got the helm.
Elliot's below deck growing up.
Elliot might be below deck 6.
He's a casualty.
So far so good. Sun's great, weather's perfect.
Too much shorts are wet.
James is a bit wet. Guys, we're coming into Astapalia. It's Sunday. We've been sailing, well, since about 7 AM from Kos. So we've done a fairly decent crossing.
We're in Greece.
We're in Greece.
Astopalia is not one of the best known islands, but it's our stepping stone to get to Santorini. We're going to go to Santorini tomorrow. So we're not far off now, we're probably about 2 miles out. We can see the village built into the hill there. We've got a proper breeze today, it's been amazing today. So we're going to go in there, we're going to try and tie the boat up to the ferry dock and hope that there's no boats there, otherwise in this breeze we're not quite sure where we're going to anchor. Anyway, we'll give you an update. Alright guys, the wind is so strong, we've had to take down the mainsail and we've had to cut the front genoa down to a third. Have a look at this. Still going. Anyway, so it makes it a lot more comfortable, but we're still flying along at a good speed of sail. But I've never had it down to such a low amount of sail before. Amazing day.
So here we are, coming into Astopalia. Beautiful little village. Everyone had beehives and honeycombs. It was all of them made honey. That's us on the top of the hill. We can see another yacht coming in, the only other yacht we saw that day. And we got to the top of the mountain. This is where they used to hide when the Turks would come and try to take them as slaves. This is the old ruins of the castle or the fort on the top of the hill. So you can see we got to Astopalia, that island near the middle, and we stayed the night there. Next day we travelled via the Anafi island in the middle there for lunch, ending up at Santorini.
Just sailing past the western tip of Anafi.
Come from Astopalia, it's about 26 miles back that way.
What time? We're Monday about lunchtime. I'm not sure what everyone's doing in the office, but we're doing a site inspection. What's the name of the site inspection?
Anafi, probably the southeastern tip.
Crystal clear water, beautiful day, about 24 degrees. Look at the size of that mountain. So what do we reckon? 700 metres maybe?
Some nice shots of the island of Anafi. We're fooling around there. And we stopped there at that beautiful little bay, so clear in the water. We had our lunch. And then Elliot pulled out a underwater camera, or at least he had a clever little plastic case there to go over his camera. So then we continued on to Santorini, which is called Tira now, to stay the night. Went into a bay on the south side of Santorini. We saw a fishing boat just as we were coming in. And there's a man standing there in the channel. I don't even see that, but the channel was so narrow with silt and shallow. We got into that bay. We had lunch on the top there. A few beers at the top, and then Elliot cooked dinner for us down below on the deck.
Alright guys, we've made it to Santorini. Elliot down here has just cooked our dinner. What have we got tonight, Elliot?
We have got sausage meatballs in an arrabbiata tomato sauce, which is a bit spicy, with peppers and olives on wholemeal spaghetti.
Wow. You enjoying that, boys? Yep. So anyway, we've done about, 52 miles today? Yeah, 52. We sailed about half of it, but then we lost the wind, so we had to motor about half. So we're in Santorini. We haven't seen much of the island yet, so we're going to go tomorrow morning around and see the crater, the caldera. But right now, we're just enjoying our dinner. We're eating below deck, because even though it was sunny all day and we had a good swim, it's a bit breezy out there tonight, so we're just taking it easy.
We headed through the caldera, which is the cauldron, the middle of the volcano. This exploded about 1,600 years BC and blew the island apart. They're virtually certain that this was the history of Atlantis, the old legend, on the bottom left tip of that island. In fact, we're going past it now. Tony's got some great photos here showing the different colours. You see the blacks, the reds, the whites. These are the pyroclastic lava flows. And Tony was assuring us that we were looking at the ruins of Atlantis there. I think the town's called Akrotiri. Anyway, then we're heading north to Ios. We got to Ios and we hired a car. It was a fantastic trip around the island of Ios. Beautiful sunset, look at that. We went and found the tomb of Homer.
Well, since we are on our Greek Odyssey sailing trip, we decided we would visit the tomb of Homer, and that's where we are right now. The Greeks don't really like signposts very much, so we've had to walk and then drive and then walk, and finally we come down this trail and we found this tomb. And it's mentioned in the 5th century BC by Herodotus that this is where the tomb of Homer is. So it's not a modern myth, it's an ancient legend that this is the right place. From 2,500 years ago it was written down. He died on a boat passing the island apparently, and they put him ashore here. So that's it. The sunset on Eos, and another part of our Odyssey done.
Had a nice dinner there. We found James found some funny street signs. Then we headed up to Paros. We tried to go between the islands of Paros, but Antiparos and Paros, but you can see we backtracked. It was too shallow, and we were risking actually running aground. So we actually backed out of that channel and then went around Antiparos into the Bay of Paros. There was a last split decision. These two rocks are in the mouth of the Bay of Paros, and they are significant because a cruise liner hit them some years ago and lost a lot of lives. From here, we headed west into the island of Seriphos. It was a nice, long, beautiful sail, easy sailing that day. We passed a few sailing ships in the distance, but there we are in Seriphos. We had to drop anchor, reverse in. The local cats came to visit us. And now here's where things got really interesting. The wind the next day was so strong.
Well, we're
you can see the wind behind us.
It's pretty windy. We're luckily on the south side of this little key, but you can see on the north side it's choppy, and the wind is howling, absolutely howling down here. And we've got an anchor out there. We're not sure quite how we're going to get the anchor up and the boat out without swinging onto the shallows. So we're going to make some new longer ropes, send them back, let the boat out slowly as we bring our anchor in, and hopefully the anchor doesn't get stuck. There we go.
So yes, if you look at that sketch, my bad sketch, the wind is going to drive us if we let go of the stern ropes straight forward past our own anchor onto the rocks and the shallows ahead of us. So we had to create a way of keeping the boat tied to the pier as we swung around in an arc side on to the wind so that we could use the motor to power out. But the problem was the anchor's down. So we had to first of all go forward, creeping forward by letting the ropes out so we could get the anchor up. It was quite a challenge.
Well, we're under some serious wind here. We've got a quarter of the Genoa out. We've got about 2/3 of the main, and we are having to rock and roll. Overhead whip.
There's our day. You can see our tacks on that really incredibly windy day as we tacked the way up the coast of Seriphos, crossed between the islands and up towards Kifnos, where we ended up at the Bay of America. It was an amazing day. There's Tony doing strong poses. Good for the photo. We sailed right into the Bay of America. Look at that, beautiful. Sails up. Just coming in here.
Well, we're just getting a gust on that.
And that was our windy day. It was beautiful.
We're coming into Kifnos. It's called Bay of America, M-E-R-I-K-H-A. And it wasn't exactly where we thought we'd end up today, but it's pretty windy out there, so we're going to go to Kia. Boys putting on the stern ropes. Elliot, we're going to bring the boat in.
Okay.
Alright.
Can you read those signs?
We got visited by the ship's cat, and James went out and made some friends with some Malibu.
So here we are, we've made it to the Bay of America on the island of Kifnos. Amazing day, plenty of wind, a lot of waves, probably 20 odd knots. Anyway, so Tony and I, here he is, Tony and I are going to go for a walk. We've had some ship's cats come and this little white fella down here. We gave him a bit of cheese, but he's a very affectionate little stray cat. And we're going for a walk into the town now. We've dropped our anchor. It's calmed down now, but we dropped our anchor, reversed in, and we've taken a couple of ropes back to the shore, and we've got our gangplank there. So it's pretty cool. It's quite a high mountains around, hills and mountains around the village, but it's pretty quiet. I was in the same village about a year ago, but a few weeks earlier, so it's very quiet. It's November. Yeah, we're going to see what we can find. We might eat ashore or cook on the boat, we're not sure yet.
Beautiful place, we had dinner there. And then the giant ferries arrived. We weren't expecting this. Huge vehicle ferries, hundreds and hundreds of people flooding in. I think it was a Friday night, so they must have been working. Look at this guy, almost loses his leg. Gets pinned between the rope and the bollard because he didn't know, he wasn't supposed to be helping. He's got his leg stuck there. If that thing pulled tight, it would have smashed his leg.
Major fuck up, Tony. Major.
What do you think of that, Tony?
That guy's very... We have just watched a major screw up with a ferry, with a guy putting the stern line. Got his leg between the bollard and the stern line.
What do you think the whistles are for?
I think this is a lesson we can learn on our boat.
Yeah.
The skipper of the boat needs a whistle.
Yeah.
This is a boy shouting and screaming at the length of the boat. Drop the anchor, get the anchor up, a bit more chain, a bit less chain. You just need to buy a whistle and develop a system.
A system.
Yeah.
Tony, do you approve?
No, very poor. Would I use no lines? Ferries? Probably not.
So what do you think's going on here, guys?
This is the weekly migration of Greek locals going from island to island, is my interpretation.
Do you think they've been working in Athens?
I don't know where they've been working, but wherever this ferry's come from.
What do you think, Peter?
I don't know. There's a lot of people moving by.
We had our nice dinner, our final night out on the islands, and everyone tucked in. It was all fabulous. And then the next day we sailed for Athens. Very long sail, had to get up very early, but it was pretty straightforward. We satellite tracked it there, and that's our Odyssey from Kos to Athens. And there's Elliot on the last day as we're inshore in Athens.